This is Dr. Maddy Roth from Roth Consulting Group. Today we're going to talk about the risk of having a wait list. So I know there is a lot of glory in having a wait list. Everyone thinks, oh, she's so good. She's such a good therapist. She has like a 3-month wait list. Or that practice is amazing. They're always running at like a 6-month wait list. They're so good over there. So it's just a thing in the PT/OT world that if you have a wait list, if you're sought after, that you must be really good. And in my opinion, if you have a wait list of more than a week, it's just stupid. It's just a stupid business move, basically. The thing about a wait list, it's human psychology, where it's human nature to think if something's harder to get, it's more desirable. And so that's what a wait list does. And that's why as humans, we think that is desirable. But really, from a business standpoint, it's really dumb to have a wait list of a few months, 6 months, 3 months. That's not a good business move. And it is very apparent that you might be making a poor business decision if you have this wait list. I've talked to other clinicians, and they do use that as like a status symbol. I have a wait list this many weeks. There's a lot of glory in having a wait list. It's fun to have a wait list. It kind of sucks to have gaps on your schedule. That's what like really sucks. There's no glory in having gaps on your schedule. But actually, if you run numbers, it's a lot better to have gaps in your schedule than to not be meeting the demand of your area. We're going to talk about why and some of the pros and cons of having a wait list. So definitely the pro of having a wait list is human psychology. People just think, wow, she must be good if she has a wait list, even if you're not good. Another pro is it just feels more secure. It feels really good to have a wait list. You know that you aren't going to have gaps in your schedule. Or if you have staff, you feel good about having a wait list because you're like, all right, good. Like my staff is always going to be full. But I've run some numbers, and the risk of having a wait list grossly, in my mind, outweighs the benefit to having a wait list. So first off, if you are solo and you're like, well, it's fine. Like I have a 3-month wait list, 6-month wait list. That's fine. One PT or OT is going to generate about $25,000 a month for you. So if you could have yourself and another clinician going, basically you're missing out. You're basically just handing away $300,000 a year and just saying, meh, that's okay. Like I could have that if I wanted to, but I'd rather not. Like I'd rather have a wait list. Or, I mean, it's okay if you do want to stay solo for certain reasons, but as a business move, we're talking more business move, not like personal preference. It is not smart. If you have so much of a wait list that you could have 2 therapists going, one therapist full-time generates you about $25,000 if you're charging around $200 per session, and she's seeing about 36 patients a week. If you had a wait list enough for 2 therapists, that's going to be $50,000 a month. So if you're not hiring because it feels really cozy to be having that wait list and you kind of like that status symbol of having that wait list, or maybe you just have one staff member and you're like, it's really hard to hire. Like, I don't want to hire, like I could hire 2 more staff, but like I'm good. Like I like this girl I've got hired. We've got a good thing going, but you have a wait list for 2 more clinicians. That's $50,000 a month. you're just like, that's okay. So that's $500,000 a year. And then same, if you have 3 clinicians that you could have, that's about $1 million a year. You're just like, that's okay. So if you think about it that way, if you're considering hiring, you've got a long wait list, think about it is hard to have staff. You're managing them, and there's hard days. It's hard days treating patients too, but that's what we know. That's what a lot of therapists are really comfortable with. That's where we kind of like to hang out. Like, you know what you're doing when you're treating patients. That's what we've learned. It's scary and it's unknown hiring clinicians. But just know too, if you have a wait list and you could have 3 more clinicians, you're basically every year saying, I don't think I want the $1 million. That's okay. You know, it's kind of fun just treating some patients. And that's fine too. Not everyone's motivated by money. And some people are truly just doing it for fun and like to fill their time. Maybe if you don't have kids and you're single, and yeah, that's you like hanging out with the people, the patients. You don't want drama. You don't want staff. Okay, that's fine. The trade-off, yeah, goodbye $1 million a year, that's fine. So anyway, maybe you don't want to have a college fund for your kids because you don't have kids. So there's different reasons to do different things, of course, but just keep that in mind. I know there's a lot of fear mongering around hiring, but I think there's a lot of risk also to not hiring. And if you think about like, oh gosh, this is so scary, I don't know what I'm doing, like I gotta figure out like payroll. Yeah, that's hard. We're smart though, guys. We can handle that. We can learn how to be leaders if you want to. Okay, so another thing I've been hearing a lot of is that there's certain times of the year for cash pay businesses that we're just slower. We have been slow this summer. We're not full. We have openings. That comes in about 3-month cycles for us. So during the summer, those 3 months are slow. So back to the wait list dilemma. Now, say you're given a choice. Do I want to hire a part-timer? Say this part-timer, I can have her full every single week. She'll be full all year round. During the busy months, we're going to have a wait list, but during the slow months, she's still going to be full. So that feels really good. That feels good to have your clinician always full. But here's the problem. If you actually run the numbers, if you have a slow season for 3 months, say your therapist is only 50% full for 3 months. Say she only sees 18 patients a week. She's full-time. If you're slow for 3 months, you're only at 50% full, you're still profiting more by having a therapist full-time if you have her the rest of the year, those other months, the full-time hours that you need. I've done this math a few times. So say someone you hire, you pay them a $90,000 salary. That's great. I think that's a really good salary. And say 6 months of the year, their schedule's only half full. They're only seeing 18 patients 6 months of the year. It's like, this feels really uncomfortable. Like they're only seeing 18 patients. Like this is kind of awkward. They're kind of antsy. What are they supposed to do? Like I'm kind of feeling like my pride's hurt a little bit. Like, I don't know. I don't know why we're not full. But if you run the numbers, you're better off having a full-time therapist that's full for only 6 months of the year, and the other 6 months is just dinking around for half of her hours. The profit is insanely different between that and having only a part-timer for the full year. So I'm going to pull some numbers here. Okay, I'm pulling some numbers. So if your therapist makes $90,000, all right, you got to pay that out, of course. She can generate $25,000 for 6 months out of the year. And then say the other 6 months, she's only half full. So she's only making $12,500. She is going to make $225,000 for you that year. And you'll have to pay her the $90K. So your business is going to profit $135,000 from having her full time. If you only took this person on part-time, and say she's making a $45,000 salary, works the whole year, she's always full, life is good, it feels great. This person is only generating $100,000 worth of profit for you for the year. If they're working half of what a full-timer is, they're making half, she can only profit you $100,000. So it's still worth having a full-timer if she's busy for only 6 months of the year. Say you keep going. If your therapist is only full for 4 months of the year, she's still making you more than if you only took a part-timer for the whole year. Because if for those 4 months she's full, her schedule's full, say you're busy in January, February, September, and November, in those months she's full, she's still making you more money than if you only hired a part-timer that couldn't take on more hours during those busy seasons. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. It just gives, I think, a little forgiveness to business owners. Like, okay, there's so much psychological glory with having a wait list, but there's so much risk in having a wait list. You're basically just saying goodbye to growing your business and profiting, if that's your goal, which is, it's a goal of business to help as many people as possible and to make money doing that. So a couple of those analogies hopefully were helpful to see that, one, having a wait list is cost benefit. You are totally missing out if you have any sort of wait list more than maybe a week. And not only that, but with physical and occupational therapy, patients like to have a little flexibility with their appointment time. It's not like it's not a dentist appointment where you go once every 6 months and it's like, I can miss work that day. But for PT and OT, people, like, they're coming every week. We got to have some availability in our schedules too. We can't just say like, okay, well, next week all we have is 11 a.m.s for the next 16 weeks. I think you need a 16-week plan of care. And then it's like, so I have to like miss part of work for 16 weeks? You're going to lose a lot of patients if you don't have any sort of flexibility in your schedule. So with our service, it's one of those services that's very important. And some people, of course, their issue is like really acute. They need it resolved, whatever. They can take off work because it's maybe disrupting their work. But other people, it's more just like, I'm ready to do this for myself. I'm ready to get rid of this leakage I've had for 3 years. If you don't have the availability to work it around their schedule, they're going to be like, I've dealt with this for 3 years. I can deal with it for like more. So I'm going to just deal with it longer, and maybe down the road I'll come back to this issue. So that's another risk with having a wait list. One, just not having scheduling availability. The amount of dollars you're losing if you are sitting on not having enough staffing, whether you need to hire one therapist or you already have a couple therapists, but you're like, this is cozy. I could hire a couple more, make it another $500,000, but that's okay. Like, we're just not doing that. And then the last thing is just not being afraid to have a few gaps in your schedule, because the benefits outweigh the cons. If you'd rather have someone just hired for like a few hours just to help out, kind of, but she's not really helping enough during those busy seasons, there's more benefit to taking someone on that can help full-time during those busy seasons, even if you're paying them out the whole rest of the year to sit on their can for like the other 8 months of the year, and they're only half full. So good to run those numbers, kind of see what the benefits, the cons are. And I'm sure there's a lot of variant opinions on all of this, but this is my thought on it. And please feel free to reach out and we can chat more. And I'd love to hear differing ideas on this concept. Thank you for tuning in.